Hello friends, and welcome back to the first installment of Not in My Kitchen. Today we are going to be making one of my favorite holiday treats. Now, I am not a baker or a cook. I do not like to do either of those things. I think I prefer baking over cooking because I have to follow a recipe. I'm not good with timing. I'm just not good with complicated recipes. So this treat that we are making today is called potato candy. I grew up with my dad's side of the family making this. I don't recall if it was for Christmas or not. I think it was just when we were there visiting. They made it as a special treat. But it's a good memory I have with my family, and especially that side of the family. So I wanted to give it a shot today, and it's a very easy recipe. It does not require any baking. There are 4 ingredients involved. You have potatoes, lots of powdered sugar, a little bit of vanilla, and some peanut butter. I think this recipe originated during the Great Depression, where there wasn't a lot of supplies, food. It was all rationed. People had to make do with what they had, which is kind of like where my mayonnaise cake came from. My mom's mayonnaise cake she makes, it doesn't have eggs, it uses mayonnaise instead. So people just got creative, and this is one of my favorite treats. It is not for the faint of heart. It is very sugary, obviously, because most of it is powdered sugar. But the potatoes are there to cut through a little of that sugar. So I thought I would make it today for this Vlogmas episode and show you guys the process. Although I will be frank in saying that I have not made this in years. And I don't know if I have ever successfully made it, because sometimes things go awry. So the first ingredient on our list is potatoes. So you take a russet potato, a small russet potato, and you peel it and you boil it just like you are making mashed potatoes, and then you dice it. We only need a half a cup of potatoes. So I set aside this much from dinner, and we are going to mash this down, and then I will use a measuring cup to measure a half a cup of mashed potatoes. So I have my fork here, and I'm just going to start mashing them. It is very important that you let your potatoes cool down to room temperature. So these were boiled for mashed potatoes, set aside, and now they have cooled down completely. That's very important, because if you use warm potatoes, it's not gonna work that well. Okay, so we have our potatoes mashed, and the next thing I'm going to do is just measure them for a half a cup and add them into a larger mixing bowl. Okay, so we have our half a cup of mashed potatoes in a large mixing bowl. The next thing we're going to do is add our powdered sugar. Now, the recipe calls for 6 to 8 cups of powdered sugar. Initially, we're going to start with 2 cups, mix it in with the potatoes, and what will happen is it'll turn into a liquid texture, and then we add powdered sugar 1 cup at a time after that until it turns into a dough. So once you add your powdered sugar to the potatoes, you just mix it up. You can use a hand mixer. I usually do this first step kind of with just a fork, because potatoes have little hard spots in them, and when it turns to a liquid, it'll be easy to fish those out of the dough. So I'm gonna do that first, and then for the rest of it, I will probably use a hand mixer. But you can kind of tell already that the mixture of potato and powdered sugar is already turning the potatoes into a very liquidy, slime-like texture, and as you keep mixing, it'll turn more and more liquid until it turns to a solid. I also take this mixing time to mash the potatoes a little more. Once the consistency turns to more liquid, it's a lot easier to find the lumps in your potatoes and mash them, because you need these potatoes to be completely completely mashed. Okay, so at this point, since our mixture is pretty liquidy, we're going to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla. I don't remember my family doing this when I was growing up, but a little vanilla never hurts anything. And now I'm going to start using the hand mixer to hopefully combine this a lot easier, and I'm going to actually be using 1 cup of powdered sugar at a time. Like I said, the recipe calls for 6 to 8 cups. I think that depends varying on the size of potato that you're using. So I'll add 1 cup at a time. You want the texture of the mix to turn into like a dough, like Play-Doh texture, one that you can like easily roll out, but you want it still to be a little bit soft because you don't want it to crack when you roll it out. Okay, so you can see our mixture is actually getting pretty thick already. It's not rolling consistency, but it definitely is quite hard to mix. We're gonna add 1 more cup of sugar. And I suggest as you get to the point where it's turning into a dough that you just add sparingly. So this next cup of sugar will be my 6th cup. And if I need to add sugar after that, I will probably just do a little at a time until we get the right consistency. This is my favorite part when I was a kid. Cleaning off these doohickeys. Okay, so as you can see, we are at a dough consistency. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna clean off my workspace here. I'm gonna sprinkle it with powdered sugar, and we're gonna roll this dough out into a rectangle on a surface dusted with powdered sugar, a rolling pin dusted with powdered sugar. This is definitely my least favorite part of this whole process because rolling things out is a nightmare for me, but we're gonna try. Okay, so I have my space all cleaned out now. I'm just gonna dig into my powdered sugar and sprinkle it liberally onto this space. Okay, so we have our dough sitting on the countertop now, and I'm just gonna go ahead and lightly roll it out. You wanna keep it about 1/4 of an inch thick, I believe, because we're gonna be rolling this up sort of like a pinwheel. Okay, so slight issue. I should have rolled this out on wax paper first because we need to roll it up into a roll, and it's kind of hard to peel off of the countertop. So I'm gonna get some wax paper. Our dough is all rolled out in a semi-rectangular shape. I'm just gonna cut it a little bit to make it a little more rectangular for the roll. there is our dough all rolled out and cut. Now the next step is to add any type of nut butter that you like or want to use. I'm choosing peanut butter. This is how I grew up with this recipe, but you can definitely use almond butter, cashew butter. I've even heard people use cookie butter from Trader Joe's, and that sounds delicious. I'm gonna spread this creamy peanut butter over the surface of the dough here and just kind of not getting it super close to the edge. All right, so now that the peanut butter is all rolled out, what you're gonna do is you're gonna start rolling the potato candy from the long edge of the rectangle. With wax paper and the Great British Baking Show, I've learned that I can roll not using my hands. So we're gonna see how this goes. Oh no. Oh no. Oh. Okay. I'm gonna roll this into a clean piece of wax paper and I'm gonna cut it. No. Okay, I'm gonna cut it before I put it in the wax paper. And then I'm just gonna roll that up because you're gonna wanna let this sit in the refrigerator for probably 30 minutes just to harden up. I think I rolled the dough out way too thick, but it's still gonna taste good, so. I'm gonna stick these in the refrigerator and come back in 30 minutes, start cutting them, and give it a taste test. Okay, so it has been a half an hour, so I thought I would unroll these and see how we're doing and then cut them up. Okay, well I can already tell that the dough was a little too wet still. I probably should have added just a little bit more sugar, but I think it will be fine. So basically you're gonna slice these like you would kind of a pinwheel or a Swiss roll, whatever you make. So we're just gonna make small little bite-sized cuts. Okay, so they are cut, and just to show you, that is what they look like. It's, I clearly didn't roll the dough out thin enough because you only have basically like one roll in there, so it doesn't look too aesthetically pleasing, but it still tastes yummy. Okay, and the last step is to just put them in an airtight container and they will keep in your refrigerator for up to 2 weeks. And that's it. I don't know if many people have actually tried this recipe or if their families have made it, but if you have, or if you've ever made potato candy, or I think you can find it online as Irish potato candy, let me know in the comments because I'm curious. Usually you make it when you have like an event, but since it's 2020 and we're in a pandemic, I'm not going anywhere, so yeah. I don't know how I'm gonna eat all of this, but I shouldn't. I'm not going to. My teeth will thank me. Anyway, thank you for joining this little cooking episode on my Vlogmas. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up down below. If you try this recipe, let me know. I want to know how it turns out. You can find it online under potato candy, Irish potato candy. It's super simple to do. As long as you have an area to roll out the dough in your kitchen or wherever, then it'll be very easy for you. Anyway, thanks for joining. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye.